Welcome back to the Prep Lab. This is lesson Math 102, Numbers and Operations. It's kind of a catch-all because it's about numbers. Well, everything on the math section is about numbers, so I could put this code on anything. But let's take a look at the numbers and the names of numbers and then what we do with them and then the operations. So every number on the ACT and the SAT is a real number unless it states otherwise that it's imaginary or complex. Imaginary numbers and complex numbers have their own code in a video that you can watch on that. An imaginary number, I, is equal to the square root of -1, which doesn't exist except for in the realm of math abstractness. A complex number is written in the form a plus bi. Every other number is assumed to be real. Real numbers are any number on the number line, and real numbers are consistent of rational numbers, irrational numbers, and integers. What is a rational number? A rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction, a over b, where a and b are both whole numbers. Rational numbers have decimals that terminate or repeat, such as 1/3. We would say 1/3 is 0.33 repeating forever and ever. An irrational number cannot be written as a fraction. The irrational numbers that show up most often on the ACT and SAT are pi, the square root of 2, and the square root of 3. Irrational numbers have decimals that go on forever to infinity and never repeat nor terminate. Square root of 2, square root of 3, pi, you see these all the time, mostly in geometry dealing with triangles and circles. A rational number that is extremely important is an integer. An integer is any number that is a whole number and their opposite. In the very next video, Math 103, is all about the properties of integers. When we look at numbers, one of the things that students often miss is when they talk about a number and its digits. The digits, like your fingers are digits, are the numbers that make up a number. So this number I've written, 5,732.16, has digits. Each one of these individual numbers is a digit, and there's a place. The thing that students most often miss is the word units. The units digit. The units digit in this number is 2. The units is equal to the ones place. So what do we have? We have the ones. We have the tens. We have the hundreds. We have the thousands. And what do we have on the other side of the decimal place? We have the tenths and the hundredths. Hundredths. Don't know how to spell that. So unit means one. The Roman word for one is uni. That's where that comes from. PEMDAS, operations. Every student has to remember PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. PEMDAS is the order of operations, and trust me, it matters. We'll do algebraic order of operations, which is PEMDAS in reverse when you're solving for an unknown. But just in operations, remember parentheses or grouping symbols. Parentheses or grouping symbols, like absolute values. I'll do an absolute value problem, and there's an absolute value concept and video that you could follow along with a worksheet. Absolute values are grouping symbols. You have to do the math inside the parentheses or grouping symbol first before you do anything else. Then you do exponents and roots. A root is just an exponent. The square root of x is equal to x to the 1/2. Watch the video on exponents and roots. After exponents and roots, the M means multiply, the D means divide. Multiplication and division are the same, so you do them from left to right. Division means multiplying by the reciprocal. Adding and subtracting is last, add, subtract. Subtracting is adding a negative number, so they really are the same thing, and you do them left to right. So it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's PEMDAS. Here's a couple of problems. My favorite grouping symbol problem is -6 plus 8 in the absolute values times 3. What students do is do the absolute value before they treat it like a grouping symbol, and that answer is waiting for them. It's a total sucker bet. So they say the 6 becomes +6 plus 8, which is 14 times 3. It's the wrong answer. You have to do what's inside. -6 plus 8 is 2. The absolute value is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Another grouping symbol you want to watch out for is squared. -3 squared equals -9. -3 quantity squared is equal to +9. That's the grouping symbol. The negative sign is inside the grouping symbol, where on here it is not. So -x squared does not mean a positive number. It means the opposite of the square of the variable. And that's the basics of number and operations. Math, lesson 102.